Rain hammered the streets of Baltimore, washing down gutters and splashing off parked cars as if the city itself were trying to cleanse something buried deep within its veins. The air carried that familiar metallic scent of wet asphalt mixed with the brine of the harbor. Amber Collins pulled her hood tighter against the downpour as she left St. Luke's Trauma Center, exhaustion dragging at her bones after a 16-hour shift. Her sneakers squelched with every step, but she pushed forward. The alley behind the hospital was her shortcut, not the safest but the fastest way home. She'd taken it 100 times before without a second thought. Tonight, though, fate had decided to wait for her there. As she turned the corner, a noise broke through the rhythm of the rain, a low, raw groan, almost animal-like in its pain. She froze, her pulse quickening. The alley light flickered, revealing a man slumped against the brick wall. His uniform caught her attention first, desert camouflage, torn and darkened by blood. His head sagged forward, and a set of dog tags glinted weakly at his neck. "Help," he rasped, the word barely audible through the storm. Amber's instincts took over. She rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside him. His side was drenched in red, blood soaking into the fabric faster than she could stop it. "Stay with me," she said firmly, voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "I'm a nurse. You're going to be okay." She tore off her scarf and pressed it hard against the wound. The man groaned, eyes fluttering open for a second. "They followed me," he whispered. "Who?" she asked, scanning the shadows around them. The answer came in footsteps, slow, deliberate, echoing through the narrow alley. Amber turned her head just as three men emerged from the darkness, hoods pulled low. The tallest one twirled a knife between his fingers, its blade catching the faint glow from the overhead light. "He saw too much," the tall one said, his tone almost casual. His gaze slid to her. "And now, so have you." Amber's heart pounded. She'd seen fear before, in patients, in families, but never like this. This was personal. Life or death. She rose slowly, putting herself between the soldier and the attackers. "Walk away," she warned, her voice low but firm. "This ain't your fight," one of them growled. "Then stop making it one," she shot back, refusing to move. The wounded soldier tried to push himself up, but pain crushed him back to the ground. The leader sneered. "Then you both die." They lunged. The first swing of the knife missed her by inches. She fought back on instinct, wild, desperate, fueled by raw survival. Her fists connected, her knee struck, her breath came in gasps. But then fire exploded in her side as the blade slashed through her jacket, her skin. She screamed, stumbling, but didn't fall. Another stab, then another. The pain came in waves, hot, sharp, unbearable, but she refused to go down. With a cry that came from somewhere deep in her soul, she drove her knee hard into the attacker's groin. He went down with a howl. The others faltered, hesitated, then ran, vanishing into the storm as quickly as they'd come. Amber staggered, bleeding, barely standing. The rain had turned pink as it hit the ground. She turned back to the soldier, her body trembling. "You're safe now," she whispered, before the world faded into darkness. When she awoke, the light was soft and sterile. Machines beeped beside her. A nurse adjusted her IV, smiling gently. "You're awake. You're lucky to be alive." Amber blinked, throat dry. The soldier, "Did he make it?" The nurse nodded. "He's stable. You saved his life." Relief hit her like a wave. She sank back into the pillow, unaware that the moment she stepped into that alley, her life had changed forever. The next morning, the first light of dawn spilled across her hospital room. A knock sounded at the door, polite but firm. Three men entered, uniforms crisp, posture unshakable. Marines. The man in the middle wore the marks of command. Medals gleamed on his chest, stars on his collar. "Miss Collins," he said, his voice steady and formal. "I'm Colonel Hayes, United States Marine Corps. May we have a moment?" Amber nodded, unsure what to say. The colonel sat, his gaze steady. "The man you saved is Sergeant Miguel Ramirez. He's Special Reconnaissance, a combat veteran recently returned from overseas. 2 nights ago, he was targeted by members of a gang with international ties. You walked right into a planned hit meant to silence him." Amber's breath caught. "I didn't think, I just couldn't let him die." Hayes's expression softened. "That kind of courage doesn't come from training. It comes from character." He nodded to the Marine beside him, who stepped forward with a small velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a bronze medallion, the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. "It's the highest non-combat award for heroism," Hayes said. "You've earned it." Amber's hands shook as she touched it. "I was just doing what anyone would have done." The colonel smiled faintly. "Most people would have run. You didn't. That makes all the difference. And from this day forward, Miss Collins, you're part of our family. You'll never stand alone." Tears filled her eyes as she looked down at the medal, heavy, gleaming, real. The following weeks passed in a blur of recovery and recognition. News outlets told her story. Letters arrived from across the country, strangers thanking her, calling her a hero. Reporters camped outside the hospital, wanting a quote, a photo, a glimpse of the woman who had fought off killers to save a Marine. But for Amber, none of it mattered as much as the quiet visits from Sergeant Ramirez. Every morning, he limped into her room with a shy smile, his arm in a sling, his gratitude unspoken but deep. "I owe you everything," he told her one morning, his voice rough. "You didn't even know who I was, and you still stood between me and death." Amber smiled weakly. "You'd have done the same." He chuckled. "I'm trained for it. You did it without training, without armor. That's something else entirely." One day, he brought a little girl with him, brown-eyed, hair in pigtails, clutching a small stuffed bear. "This is Sophia," he said softly. "My daughter. She almost lost her dad. She wanted to meet the woman who saved him." Sophia ran to Amber and hugged her tightly. "Thank you for not letting my daddy go to heaven," she said, her voice innocent and pure. Amber felt her throat tighten. No medal could match that. 6 months later, Amber stood on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, wearing a simple blue dress beneath her nursing coat. The medal pin shone proudly on her chest. Cameras flashed as senators applauded and generals saluted. In the front row, Ramirez stood with Sophia, both beaming. When Amber stepped up to the podium, she took a steady breath, her voice carrying over the crowd. "I'm not a hero," she began. "I'm just someone who refused to look away." The applause that followed wasn't just for her, it was for courage itself. For the idea that sometimes, the bravest hearts don't wear uniforms. Sometimes, they walk home from work, tired and ordinary, until the moment the world calls on them to be extraordinary.